Shaker Lakes on the east side of Cleveland, Ohio, are once again in the crosshairs to be eliminated. I think if people understand how vital and important these lakes are, that they will help the fight to make sure that they stay for future generations. I hope you're willing to watch this perspective and join us. The Shaker Lakes are located along the Dome Brook, which is ours to protect. I'm going to be narrating this presentation, but feel free to turn off the sound and watch it as a silent presentation if you prefer. The Shaker Lakes are located along the Dome Brook on the east side of Cleveland, Ohio, between Cleveland Heights and Shaker Heights. You have the lower Shaker Lake and the upper Shaker Lake, also called Horseshoe Lake. The Shaker Lakes are ours as part of the Dome Brook Parkland, and generous benefactors of the past, including John D. Rockefeller, the Van Sweringen brothers, Mr. Gordon, Mr. Wade, Mrs. Ambler, deeded the land in the late 1800s to create and preserve continuous parkland from the Heights down to Lake Erie, specifically reserving this land so they would not be developed. The Shaker Lakes are visited by people all over. The Nature Center is visited by 140,000 people a year and is a critical wildlife habitat. There's been more than a century of conservation efforts along the lakes. It provides environmental education for young and old. And it's an Audubon Society's worldwide important bird area. It's a stopover for migrating birds. The Shaker Lakes are a rare and significant remnant representing an era of pioneer diligence and ingenuity. The Shakers used and harnessed the waters of Dome Brook for their mills, for livestock watering places, for ice ponds before there were refrigerators. This ensured the survival of the settlement in the earliest years of the Connecticut Western Reserve of Ohio's history. The Shaker Lakes are like the gems in the crown of the Heights. The Shaker Lakes were the site of the North Union Shaker Settlement, 1822 to 1889. On the left is the Shaker's woolen mill, and it was powered by a water wheel from the waters of Horseshoe Lake. The ruins of the Shaker's 1837 sawmill and their cooper shop is still located below the present Shaker Lake Dam. The Shaker Lakes were a very important site of recreation in the past and also for the present. This is a 100-year-old postcard of boating on the Shaker Lakes. There used to be a boating club and many regatta events. The Shaker Lakes are an important site for field trips and summer camps. The Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, and also many school trips. Many children grew up around these lakes and enjoying the lakes. In the 1960s, the Cuyahoga County engineer tried to build a highway right through the Shaker Lakes. The garden clubs of the region, the ladies in tennis shoes, and many other people in the community helped save it. As if the Shaker Lakes were the only place to build a highway. Now the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District is telling us there are plans in the works to get rid of the Horseshoe Lake and possibly the lower lake as well, saying the Shaker Lakes are not their priority, and they're not worth the money it would take to replace and repair both dams because the lakes lack commercial value. With tens of millions of dollars more normally spent on the region for the ongoing infrastructure improvement projects, They're deciding that one and possibly both of our lakes aren't worth the funding. When it's absolutely possible to repair the dams, rebuild the dams, and keep the Shaker lakes. And this is despite the fact that the lakes are part of the promised reserved parkland for the public, very historic, they're valuable for flood control for the area, are a natural green space and important wildlife habitat, and that they can continue as being lakes by being dredged and fitted with ODNR compliant dams. If the people of Cleveland, Cleveland Heights, and Shaker Heights once again are willing to step up and voice the importance of keeping the Shaker Lakes, not only for those alive today, but for future generations to come, we may be able to save the Shaker Lakes. The Van Sweringens and other early suburban developers had the foresight to preserve these lakes for the community. The Shaker Lakes are precious and unique, especially since most of the original lakes in other Cleveland area parks have long been obliterated. For over a century, the recreational value, beauty, and tranquility of the Shaker Lakes have been a selling point in real estate and city planning brochures. The Shakers had a special spiritual name for this lakeland along Dome Brook, the Valley of God's Pleasure. In accepting the Dome Brook parkland, the City of Cleveland was agreeing to the conditions on the deeds to keep and maintain the parklands for the public. That doesn't mean burying the creeks underground, removing historic stone bridges and dams, taking away lakes, or using the lands for highway, buildings, public waterworks, or sewers. And to understand the impending Shaker Lake situation, it helps to look at the trends and the fates of the other portions of the Stonebrook Parkway. Let's see the track record of stewardship along the same Stonebrook Parkway. Gordon Park in the 1890s was deeded to the City of Cleveland for the people on the condition that they maintain, beautify, and adorn the park, make it a desirable place of resort for the public, opened at all times to the public free of charge. Over time, it got used for other purposes. Some of it remains a park, but you can see a highway runs through it, and Dome Brook has been buried in dark underground pipes. And here is a before and after of Gordon Park. Before in the lower right, postcard of the beach. And you can see the Muni plant set right next to the park for a very long time. Wade Park was given to the people by Jephthah Wade in 1882. He said he wanted to secure for the citizens of Cleveland for all time the opportunity of recreating a beautiful and attractive park for the benefit of the people. In his deed, he says that the grounds at all times hereafter to be kept and maintained by the city in such repairs and condition to make it an attractive and desirable place for the public, open at all times and to be for no other purpose than a public park. And we have in the upper left photo the old iron bridge and ravine. Now it's been filled in and it's under a parking lot. In the lower left, there's Wade Park's famous natural spring. Now it runs mostly in storm sewers. It's not identified, and it's located in the botanical garden, so it's not accessible to the public without a fee. Many of the beautiful historic stonework bridges and dams have unfortunately been removed from Wade Park, some out of necessity, but probably much of it out of not wanting to bother with the funds to restore them. Here is a view of Wade Park, a then and now, 1878, 1892, and the 2020 view. You can see the stealthy progression of development over our park. We are very grateful, though, for all the culture in the University Circle area. We do acknowledge and celebrate the Donebrook Parkland area as a setting for the cultural gardens and museums. In 1895, Martha Buell Ambler, the wife of Dr. Nathan Ambler, donated their land along Doane Brook to the city as a public park with the agreement that it would be kept and maintained by the city of Cleveland for the people. This is Ambler Park in the past, and let's see what it looks like today. This is Ambler Park as you see today, and you can see on the left that the beautiful lakes and parks have now been replaced by sewer works. And although our sewers are very important, is it right to put them over the parkland that was promised to the people? And here are some more buried portion of the Donebrook Parkland. We've got on the left Donebrook through University Circle. Now that's all covered up. We have the Ambler Park Lakes mentioned before. And we have the Rockefeller Park Lake, which is only about a third or so of what it used to be there along MLK. The history presented here is to make a point about our endangered waterways. It does not necessarily reflect on the good people and entities today who serve the public, work hard to take care of our parks, and help work out the problems of waste and stormwater management. We are grateful to have sewers, but just not in place of our parks. The greater Cleveland area still has many parks and beauty areas to visit. However, the lakes and streams continue to steadily disappear. So over time, most of our area streams have been buried underground. The ravines have been filled in. There's a loss of the natural floodplains and ravine bowls that would help contain the water. Not to mention the beauty and valuable habitat of the open ravines that have been lost. Here's an example of 9 Mile Creek, eastward of Doane Brook, during the time it was buried underground, along most of its path. A lot of people don't realize that Cedar Glen was once a gorge with a beautiful stream running down the middle of it called Blue Rock Brook. And at the foot of Cedar Hill was the Blue Rock Mineral Spring and Water Cure Hotel. In about 1928, the stream was put underground and contributes to flooding in University Circle. Paving and seweриfication creates a loss of natural filtering green spaces and increases the rate at which water travels down to Lake Erie. Fast water takes more pollutants down with it. And we've developed right over the top of the ravines and asked why there's flooding. The occasional surplus water has nowhere to go. Green spaces absorb water and help it to evaporate back into the air. Let's reopen our buried stream to sunlight, reduce impervious ground surface. Let's create bioswales, stream restoration projects, rain gardens, divert more road runoff away from streams, increase public awareness, allow wildlife to coexist, and allow our beloved and appreciated lakes to stay. Regarding the Shaker lakes and dams, no electricity, only horses and oxen. With primitive materials of dirt and stone, the practical and clever Shakers built 2 dams that have lasted an impressive amount of years into the current times. The Lower Lake Dam, with its huge quarried stone, was built in 1836 and has stood over 185 years. There were also previous dams at this site, even before the Shakers. The Upper Lake, what we call the Horseshoe Lake, was started in about 1852, and it has stood over 169 years. So it's understood that the Shaker Lake dams need attention. It's really felt the Shaker Lake dams deserve full funding for ODNR compliance, Ohio Department of Natural Resources. The Shaker dams are no longer ODNR compliant, as are about 72% of the dams in Ohio, and need repair and replacement. They are Class 1 dams, meaning there's a potential for loss of life downstream if the dam fails. In addition to all the benefits already mentioned for keeping the lakes, both lakes can also provide stormwater control to the region. This schematic helps demonstrate how both Shaker lakes have potential to provide flood control. You can see normal lake volume, and then during flood situations, the lakes can hold the surplus water temporarily, keeping it off the streets. The lakes have to be properly dredged and maintained, though, and updated with the compliant dams. And then once again, it can help lessen flooding downstream, especially in University Circle. You can see that Horseshoe Lake alone drains up 1.8 square miles of the heights, and that after dredging, Horseshoe Lake will have a significant flood control benefit. Many people wonder if the recent flooding in University Circle and MLK Drive was worsened by the fact that Horseshoe Lake had been previously drained. And as the time of this presentation, the lake has been sitting there drained, unfortunately. There is hope that the sewer district and the cities of Cleveland, Cleveland Heights, and Shaker Heights will make saving the lakes a priority for the people because they are so much more than 2-bit duck ponds. And that we aren't left with a mere replacement stream that won't provide the same recreational value such as boating and fishing, the same or comparable habitat for mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles and vertebrates, or the same aesthetic experience to visitors. The Shaker Lakes have their own unique way of reflecting the sky, clouds, sunrise, sunset, moon and stars, and have inspired deep and memorable moments for generations. There's hope that the lakes won't disappear because if they do, it will only be a small step more towards burying the waters underground and developing over them, which we have seen is the historical trend. There is hope that during the repairing of the dams that the huge Shaker stone blocks will be repurposed there, and that also long-lasting materials will be used. That the wildlife will be protected as much as possible during the process of dam construction, and that as much of the historic sites will be preserved. That although the dams and lakes may not be considered natural by some, that they represent a critically significant era of pioneer history. They are a place one can actually go to see and experience the past. And there are not many remains of the North Union Shakers left in the area, but the lakes are one of them. I really hope the people are given a chance to decide and that they will fight to keep the lakes, because once the lakes are gone, they are gone forever. We today are deciding the fate of the lakes for all the future generations. Here is the Ohio historical marker at the Horseshoe Lake. If the lake goes, once again, it'll just be a place where we tell the children it was once here. Just to show you how historical the Doan Brook Parkway is, there was another important mill below the Shaker Lake, the lower Shaker Lake, on the same Doan Brook Parkway. It was the North Union Shaker Stone Grist Mill. It had its own little mill pond or lake. There are still remnants of the mill race there. And amazingly, this drawing was done by Archibald M. Willard, the same artist who did the famous painting, The Spirit of 76. The Horseshoe Lake was a site of the Shakers' Center family. They had the Center, Mill, and Gathering families, and the majority of the buildings were once centered around the Horseshoe Lake. You can visit the grave of Jacob Russell, which is still there by South Park and Lee Road. And he wasn't a bad shaker, as legend has it. He was rather the original pioneer on the land and the father of Ralph Russell, the founder of the North Union Shaker Colony. Jacob Russell was a Revolutionary soldier, and his grave is honored by a DAR plaque. And this is one last piece of history. This is the oldest known map of Cleveland Heights and Shaker Heights from 1834 in the Library of Congress, back when the area was Warrensville and Newburgh Township of the Connecticut Western Reserve. You can see the Doan Parkland. You can see the mill sites. You can see Lee Road, South Woodland, North Park, Fair Hill, and Coventry Road dotted in there. And you can see the log cabins, the Shaker whitewashed buildings, the barns, and the mills of this early time. The Shaker Lakes are in our hearts. They are a place for poets, dreamers, thinkers, artists, photographers, nature lovers, explorers, young and old. They are a place to de-stress or find solitude, or exercise and breathe in oxygen. They are a place to join others. They are home for birds and other wildlife. They are historic. There is something there for everyone. Enjoy these beautiful photographs of the Shaker Lakes by local artists, Robert Mueller and James McNamara, both graduates of the Cleveland School of Art. I hope this presentation was informative and that you will join us in the fight to help save both Shaker Lakes for all future generations. The lakes are very unique, they're very special, very historical, and it would not be the same to replace them with a trickling stream. I hope you pass this presentation on to others, and I thank you for watching. It was written and compiled by Corby Roberts and William R. Hopkins. We are both trustees of the Cleveland Heights Historical Society. Thank you.